Hey y'all, it's K-Bird Tweets, and this is Peace, Love, and Baseball. Welcome back to Peace, Love, and Baseball. I am your host, Kelsey, aka K-Bird Tweets, and this is episode number 100 of Peace, Love, and Baseball. To celebrate 100 episodes, I have gathered two of our finest guests that we've had over the years who just really get what Peace, Love, and Baseball is all about. They are very in tune with the vibes, and we know we're big on vibes here at Peace, Love, and Baseball. So I knew that they were the ones that I had to go to for today's very serious, highly analytical episode. So let's welcome in our PLB Analytics team. We've got Wesley McKinney of Validity and the one and only Sarah Ann 1212. Thank you for being here. And before we get into the very official work that I've called you here to do, it is a beautiful time of year around the country. October, postseason baseball is upon us. But Wes, what is your favorite thing about this time of year besides postseason baseball?
When you said besides postseason baseball, see, I was putting my Cardinals stuff on tonight just to record with you, and I just realized how much it made me miss putting on Cardinals gear in October, and it just made me really sad. So, other than postseason baseball, I am a sucker for the pumpkin pastries.
Love
Not
it.
a big fan of the PSLs because I don't like sugary coffees anymore.
Yeah, sweet.
But the pastries, I do enjoy that.
Pumpkin goodies. Sarah, how
Pretty
about
basic.
you?
Yeah.
Are you getting into your fall feels this October?
Yeah, I love spooky season. I like Halloween. It's just fun to dress up, and we decorated the office like the Friday before October 1st, so it was at like September 27th or something, so we were a little ahead. But it doesn't really feel like Halloween or fall out here because it's still over 100 degrees every day. So
oh my gosh.
Right now, the thing that I am enjoying is Arizona Fall League starts today. So it's not postseason baseball, but it is still baseball. So it's, and it's like we can see. Usually I'm at a Fall League game wearing a beanie and a sweater of some sort, so I know that it's coming. It's in the distance. We're not there yet, but it's coming.
Yeah, so
can you even imagine 100-degree heat?
No, I literally can't. I mean, I've never even been to Arizona, so I literally cannot imagine it. But you bring up a good point, Sarah. Something that I wanted to point out is, let's just like establish our credibility here before we get into the serious work that I brought you here to do. We are at different parts of the country. So Wesley McKinney is in Chicago. I'm obviously here in New Jersey on the East Coast. Sarah is in Arizona. So we're all over the country. The one thing that we do have in common is that we are St. Louis Cardinals fans, which obviously makes us the perfect people to be completely and totally objective when it comes to evaluating the hard data for these 8 playoff teams. And that's what everybody is really into right now. So today, Wes, Sarah, and I are going to introduce you to a brand new statistic. It's still in the works, so roll with us here. But we are configuring this statistic for Major League Baseball. If you're a baseball fan, you've probably heard of WAR, wins above replacement, or WAR. It measures a player's value in all facets of the game by deciphering how many more wins that he's worth than a replacement level player at the same position. But today, we're going to use an even more sophisticated stat to evaluate these 8 teams that remain in the playoffs. We are at the division series point. And vibes above replacement is what we're going to try out today, or VAR. It is the latest in cutting-edge analytics being tested by those at the top of their field here at Peace, Love, and Baseball. So it will measure a player and or team's value in all vibe-related facets on and off the field by determining how high on vibes they are over their opponent. Wes, this is probably got to be cutting edge, certainly the most scientific way to determine who's going to win the World Series, right?
I think that it's only a matter of time until MLB jumps on this statistic, and people at Baseball Reference and ESPN, they're going to be all over this. This is cutting edge material right here for sure.
It's really shameful that they're not already, honestly. Come on, get it together.
Right.
Credit to you, Kelsey. Credit to you for creating it in the first place. So, I mean,
Thank
here we
you.
are.
I mean, I've been putting it out there for a while, but this is, we're really trying to get it on the books here. So today we will go through a simple exercise scoring 5 different vibes of each playoff team. We're going to add up our scores. This is not a math podcast. I am not good at math at all, but we're really going to try to make this work. So we're going to add up our scores, and we're going to find the average total of our scores to determine each team's official VAR or vibes above replacement. And obviously the team with the highest VAR is most likely to win the World Series. I was gonna ask you guys who of the remaining teams you would like to win the World Series, but I don't know if I want to bring out that bias yet, because obviously we're not biased at all. We are here to be completely unbiased and do this very very objective, analytical work. So let's just get into it here. We're going to start with the National League. We've got the Dodgers, the Padres, the Phillies, and the New York Mets. So here's how it's going to work. Each vibe for a team is rated on the vibe scale from -2 through 3. Half points may be awarded, so you could give a -2, you could give a -1.5, you could give a 0.5, a 1, etc. We're going to add up the points that you have awarded to each vibe. So keep track. As I'm listing these things, go ahead and score them. Then you'll add yours up. I will pass it over to you. Going to give us just a little rundown of how you scored and what made you feel that way. And then give us your total points. And
I just had to check and see that my calculator could do negative numbers. That's where we're at right now.
Phew. Actually, so, that's a really
good luck to this math system. There is a plus negative on the calculator app, so we're good, y'all.
Perfect.
Oh, you're right. There is. Okay, phew. Thank goodness. Good call out there.
I think I do have my T9 calculator from high school somewhere if I needed to bust that out real quick.
Perfect.
I was going to say, Sarah, we were music majors, so any chance you're more into the math, we might have to kick it to you.
We can count to 4 and sometimes 6.
I took those classes, but did it stick with me? No. 5 minutes after the years ended, gone.
See, that's why I just knew it was never worth my time. Vibes, on the other hand, being in tune with this sort of thing, very worth our time.
It's important.
Okay, so the average VAR of each of our scores will be the team's official vibes above replacement. And then obviously whoever has the highest vibes above replacement, just start making the rings now, right? Okay, I'm going to take you through the Los Angeles Dodgers first. Again, try to keep an open mind, but know that I brought you here because I trust your gut and your read on this, and score appropriately. Okay, so the first vibe we're going to score here for the Los Angeles Dodgers is Tommy Edman and the Super Utilities. So obviously the Dodgers acquired Tommy Edman at the deadline. The thing that I found so interesting about that is that Tommy Edman is one of actually a handful of players, probably like half the Dodgers team, that are very similar to him. He's just like better than them. So they kind of like topped off their super utility guys like Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, Miguel Vargas, and it works really well for them. It's kind of saving them in a lot of ways right now. And you know that I believe Tommy Edman is going to be a difference maker. Don't let me convince you. Go ahead and score Tommy Edman and the Super Utilities. And you feel pretty good about that. Just again, gut instinct. Don't take too long. Score it anywhere from -2 to 3. And let's move on then to postseason Ohtani. Postseason Ohtani is a whole vibe. You know it is. We've been waiting for it. The people wanted it. Major League Baseball wanted it so bad that we have made it happen. Ohtani had a 9.2 WAR, which is very high wins above replacement, just for your reference. And he's already a difference maker, even in his first postseason game. We know he can perform under pressure. He's you know, he's a unicorn. He's one of the best hitters we've maybe ever seen in the game of baseball. So go ahead and give postseason Ohtani a score on the vibe scale. And now we'll talk about hometown hero / deadline ace that the Dodgers acquired. One Jack Flaherty, of course, who started yesterday's game. And I'm sure we'll get more starts in the postseason. It seems like he's really locked back into his ace potential, his number one stuff this season. And he has kind of got that fire, that emotion as well, that I think the Dodgers team, a little bit of an edge to him that maybe they were missing. So Jack Flaherty, totally different vibe than Shohei Ohtani, but a vibe nonetheless. Let's go ahead and give him a score. I'm scoring here with you. And feel free to score at home. You know, this is a fun episode to play along with. See what you come up with.
You
and
should keep score at home. Definitely.
Yeah, why not? Okay, 2 more. The fourth vibe here is the Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts vibe, because they are the other 2 heads to the 3-headed monster, right? They're like the cornerstones of this franchise. They're the guys that have the experience. They're the ones that you just assume are going to show up and be the difference makers in the postseason. So they're definitely a vibe, the 2 of them together, that give the Dodgers some sort of edge. How big of an edge do you think Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts give to the Dodgers? Final vibe here. The Dodgers have the best record in all of baseball, therefore giving them home field advantage through the World Series if they should make it there. So they do have that home field advantage for the Dodgers. So, I mean, take it or leave it. We saw some interesting things from the Dodgers fans last night. Some things that seem like they might be a positive were not always a positive. So totally up to you. But as we think it through here, go ahead and add up your score. And I'm going to add mine up. And then we'll kick it around and see what you might have to say about the Dodgers vibes above replacement.
Even with a calculator, I can't do math. This is hard.
Wes, do you have your score?
I have a 1.7.
Wow. Wait, how did you get a 1 point?
Wait, how did you?
Wes.
Did I do that right? 3. I divided it by 5, right?
Wait, you divided it by 5? What are you talking?
Am I averaging this? How do I do it? You want me to add it? Just add it all up.
Yes, just
okay.
add it all up.
Like we're
I thought
7.
for some reason, I thought that we were gonna do.
I'm like, that's brutal. And also, how did you get a 0.7? No, just add it all up.
I thought that I was averaging these up.
No, I'm gonna average them. You just add it all up.
Okay, so I'm at an 8.5 then.
Oh wow. Okay. All right.
8.5.
Tell us about it.
Not biased at any point, but when you said Tommy Edman, I automatically gave a 3, and I'm not biased as a Cardinal fan at all.
Same.
I just really like the guy a lot. But he's come up clutch for them, even September on. Like he's done a lot for them and did really, 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 really well. What was the third one you said? I forgot to write that one down.
Jack Flaherty acquisition at the deadline.
So Jack Flaherty, I gave a 0. He gave up 4 runs, and he started chirping at yesterday's game, and I just don't like that. And we can talk more about that, I'm sure, with the Padres when we talk about the Padres. But I didn't like what I saw, and then also the home field advantage. I was lucky enough to go to Dodger Stadium for opening day when the Cardinals were there.
Yeah.
And I will say it was quite a vibe. I felt very welcome there, even as a visitor. But when they did, give me a hard time, I could tell it was in jest. This that I've been seeing throughout the postseason, and I know the Padres are a different team. They're like closer to them and everything. It would be like a Cardinals-Cubs rivalry. But I feel that that's just, I don't like to see the negative fan behavior. I don't like to see any of that. It does ultimately help the team playing at home and having the home field advantage. So I gave him 1.5 for that, which all in all equals 8.5. So pretty high. And I think that's the Dodgers have been favored coming into this all season. So I think
pretty solid.
vibes are high for the Dodgers right now.
Sarah, how does yours measure up?
Okay. My overall score was 5.5, but I think I was a little harsher. Obviously, I mean, it's like 3 whole points less. I was trying to be incredibly unbiased, so I did give Tommy Edman a 2.5. I just took it down a notch.
Better than me.
Yeah. I did do agree with Jack Flaherty. I only gave him a 1 because, he didn't really do that great yesterday. And that was his first postseason appearance with the Dodgers. So, is he the hometown hero, or he kind of threw that game to the Padres? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that works out for him. And then, home field advantage, I gave negative 1.5 because just the behavior from Sunday night's game, I'm like, is that really an advantage? It kind of fueled the Padres more than it fueled the Dodgers, it feels like, just because that fan base, just in the most unbiased way possible. There's always, you see the videos of people like getting in full-on brawls in the stands. And like, I mean, I had the joke, I never actually said it, but I'm like, with the Padres and Dodgers being in the NLDS, like, how many people are going to die in a fight in the stands this year? Like, it's not
dark.
It's not great. So, I hope everybody stays safe, but it's just, I don't know that that's really an advantage for the Dodgers. And I don't know that's a good vibe that you want to like hang your hat on. So
totally. It felt weird watching that. This game that we're referring to was played on Sunday, October 6th, game 2 of the NLDS. If you haven't caught up, man, it was very fiery Dodger fan behavior, not cool at all. And while I have heard, similarly to what you shared, Wes, it does seem like, there's just some places where, we talk about the level of home field advantage at Citizens Bank Park, and we'll talk about the Phillies as well. But Dodger Stadium just doesn't necessarily, it doesn't have that vibe to me as like one of the places that's really truly like playing into home field advantage. So I agree. That was my lowest for them, was I did give them a -2 for the home field advantage, because I just don't think it is helping them. And I don't think, like, I never saw a bigger disconnect between a fan base and the players than I did last night. I felt like those guys were probably like, this is so awkward. And none of them have that sort of like aggressive, even like Manny Machado sort of vibe about them. So it just did not align at all. Of course, I gave Tommy Edman and the Super Utilities a 3. And postseason Ohtani a 2, because I do think he's definitely a difference maker. So my overall total was a 6. So y'all, I added up the 8.5, the 6, and the 5.5, and I averaged it. And the Dodgers VAR is 6.66. So I'm not sure that's a great sign.
Ooh.
But that is their official vibes above replacement, 6.66. So solid place to start.
Right.
Let's move on to the Padres. So the San Diego Padres
spooky in October.
Right? Oh, that's true. Maybe it is. Maybe it is very on brand. Little spooky vibes above replacement score in October. I'm interested to see how these teams start to measure up here. So Mike Schilt and the San Diego Padres. That's the first vibe we're gonna hit on hard here. The Mike Schilt revenge tour is what I'm calling it, because Mike Schilt, one of the only managers in Major League Baseball that has never played in Major League Baseball, seems like a guy who has just really always had a good head on his shoulders, been a true leader, and really connects to his players. And he was fired by the St. Louis Cardinals years ago for philosophical differences, and Cardinals fans have been waiting for this opportunity for Mike Schilt ever since. So go ahead and give Mike Schilt a score on the vibe scale and what you think he brings, kind of the edge that maybe he gives to the Padres. The next vibe I want you to consider for the Padres is the Peter Seidler legacy. So you may or may not know that Peter Seidler, the owner of the Padres, passed away at just 63 years old this past year. And he was kind of the dream scenario of an owner in baseball, especially among the ones that we see these days. He just genuinely loved the game, really wanted to bring home a first World Series title to San Diego, had a great relationship with the players and the fans. And so they're wearing the little yellow hearts on their jerseys, which are real cute, that say the PS for Peter Seidler. And I think that's a really cool storyline that, it's a vibe for sure. It's something that they've got going on. So we got to consider that as well when looking at the Padres. Next one. We know we love a postseason anthem, right? That was, I think, certainly a vibe and a difference maker for the Texas Rangers last season with their Creed anthem. Well, this year we've got a couple songs in the running here for a couple different teams. This is the first one. Kyle Higashioka, the catcher for the Padres, was presented with the All the Small Things guitar from Blink-182 because apparently he plays guitar and he hit a really awesome home run in the Wild Card Series. And Blink-182, I think the lead guitarist, lead singer, whoever, threw out the first pitch at the game and was like,
"Have some respect."
Yeah, what's his name? What you tell me about him? Tell me about him. Is he
Tom
the
DeLonge.
singer?
I had the biggest crush on him when I was, a teen, when Blink-182 was hot.
I'm feeling some vibes bias coming here.
This might be a little biased. I did go to a Blink-182 concert in July, so I have to, put that out there.
Love that.
I'm a Blink girl.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
It's a vibe. It's a vibe, right? So yeah, they've got all the small things on their side, and Blink-182 are rooting for the Padres. So, how you think that might play out, we'll see. Other vibes here we need to consider. The outfield of vibes is the thing that the Padres have. Now, 3 very different vibes going on out there, but together I want you to consider how they make up the outfield of vibes. We've got Jackson Merrill in center field. Probably going to be Rookie of the Year. Maybe not because of Paul Skeens, but definitely going to get a lot of votes. He is like the ultimate clutch player at 21 years old for that team. Fernando Tatis Jr., love him or hate him, the guy has so much personality and he is showing it off in every game along with the numbers to back it up. And then you've got Jurickson Profar, which if you haven't heard, I can't remember which team it was, but there was a player in a postseason interview who referred to him as being irrelevant earlier this season. And basically since that happened, he has gone off and been insanely relevant in all of the ways. Plus, he's just a guy, he's been in the league for many, many seasons at this point. Always a rather average player, but he's kind of found that kind of unlocked the next level even after years in the league. So you'll love to see that for anybody. So how is that outfield of vibes playing in to the Padres' overall vibes above replacement? Final one I want you to consider here for the Padres. They are the only team in the postseason that has never won a World Series. So that's a vibe, some certain sort of energy one way or another that they might be bringing. Do you think it plays into, inexperience, or, that they don't have the legacy, that winning legacy that teams like the Yankees have, but they've also got that little extra something to play for, maybe to bring a title home. So there you have it. Your vibes for the San Diego Padres. Let's add them up and see how it compares.
So I think that I'm not utilizing the negative numbers well enough, but the Padres just scored a 12 for me.
Oh, wow, I like it.
Right.
I like it.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
12. Mike Schultz, I gave him a 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some fiery postseason speeches from Mike Schultz. I know he gets his team going. I know he's a people person, and I think that that's really important in leadership, especially when you have guys performing and on the biggest stage and in the most dramatic moments. So definitely a 2.5 for that. The Blink-182, I'm very I'm soft for an anthem. If you have a song that you can rally around, the St. Louis Blues did it with Gloria, and every time I hear Gloria, I think of the night that the Blues won. I'm not the biggest hockey fan, but still, it brings me back to that moment. And whenever I hear "Written in the Stars," I always think of the 2011 World Series. I get goosebumps every time, even though that wasn't their anthem. It was just a play-in for Fox.
Yeah.
But I think the anthem did it for me. in my unbiased musical mind, the anthem really ranked them up there.
Can you back that up, Sarah?
Well, I know that we did just say that I was a little biased with my Blink-182 opinion, and I do have to also disclose I am drinking out of a 2015 Padres Spring Training Cup right now.
Wow.
But I would like to make it known I am not a Padres fan. I'm not
she's
a
wearing
Padres
yellow.
supporter.
What the hell?
I am wearing yellow. I think I might be a closet Padres fan, but they got a 12.5 from me. So
wow.
I did go. I went 3 on the Mike Schultz revenge tour. I'm a big Mike Schultz fan. I think that he is definitely out for revenge. Like Wes said, we've heard his postseason speeches. I think he really knows how to fire up a team. I went 3 on the Blink-182. Again, I have. That one's a little biased. But yeah, and the 2.5 on the only team in the postseason that has never won a World Series. Because I think, like you said, gives them something to play for. You know, it's given strong Rangers 2023 vibes right now with the anthem, never winning the World Series. Kind of an underdog, not really an underdog, but you know, yeah.
I mean, to the
they've got the good vibes.
Yeah, it is weird to think that a team that's that strong, especially like even on paper, could be considered an underdog. But man, we heard all about the Dodgers all season long, and lo and behold, here are the Padres coming in hot with, I scored them overall as an 8, so I wasn't as hyped.
Oh, wow.
Not quite as hype on the anthem, or I mean, I'm here for an anthem, but yeah, I scored the Mike Schultz the highest with a 2.5. Everything else was between 1 and 2 for me, because I certainly do think that Peter Seidler legacy, everything kind of plays in a little bit to get them to, you know, an overall higher vibes above replacement score. So our average of our 3 scores is 10.83, substantially higher than the Dodgers. So
yeah. I can just see that. I can just see that hype reel video, you know, wrapping up at the end, you know, with them winning. I can see all of these things kind of playing into it. I can see it all on a World Series ring right now. I think, you know, I'm not a Padres fan. Let that be known. I'm not actually rooting for them.
Padres podcast.
Well, what cup are you drinking out of?
It's the Seattle Mariners. Thank you.
Okay, we're good.
Well, if we're gonna talk about bias, we have to move on to the Philadelphia Phillies here, and you may or may not know that I am 10 miles away from Citizens Bank Park right now. Wes is very salty about my newfound love for the Phillies, but I will vow to be as objective as possible. I did rate the Phillies team as the highest on vibes team earlier in the season when I did that episode. So I did already, you know, I do already have some hard research done on this. I just want to put that out there. But let's go through the 5 biggest vibes that I think the Phillies have going on for them this postseason. Obviously, we have to talk about Bryce Harper in October, right? I mean, the man is a machine all season long, but he kicks it in to next level in clutch situations, especially in October. He has lived up to the hype that he had around him at like 16 years old in every way. And he's one of the only players in all of sports that has really happened with. Clear leader of that team. He's super into Philly and just like fully committed to the fan base. So yeah, he's definitely, I mean, he himself is a whole vibe that really plays in to that team, especially in October. In addition to that, we've got a group of 3 other players that are known as the Phillies Daycare. They call them Phillies Daycare because they're like the 3 youngest players on the team. Have you heard them referred to this as daycare before?
I have not. That's why I was like really looking forward to you explaining this, because I'm like, what does this mean?
Yes.
It's because she's in Philly, so she just knows all this stuff now.
I'm a diehard, lifelong Phillies fan.
Exactly. So yeah, they call them the Phillies Daycare because they're like the youngest guys on the team, and they are the 3 that you always see. Kind of like Newt and Siani would come up and, you know, do the Gatorade shower or the ice bucket or whatever. Yeah. They're those guys that are doing that at the end of every game, and they have had a lot of walk-offs this season, including last night's game 2 of the NLDS.
Oh,
So Phillies daycare made up of Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, and Alec Boehm. So those are the 3 guys that you're considering how they vibe together, but obviously your separate opinions of them can totally play into this score as well. Third vibe is, okay, we got to talk about how the Phillies have the ring the bell. That is their hashtag on Twitter. But the reason that it is, if you haven't been to Citizens Bank Park, is they have this giant light up bell at the back of the stadium that when anybody hits a home run, it actually rings back and forth. It moves back and forth. It rings when they move. It's a very iconic, cool thing that I think sets that stadium apart. And it just like kind of takes the postseason vibes, any game vibes, but especially, you know, a high pressure situation to the next level. It's a whole vibe at the stadium. What kind of advantage may that give them or not? 2 other vibes we're going to hit on here for the Phillies. Okay, they are one of the only teams. There were a few teams that did special postseason menus, but the Phillies was by far the best from what I looked into. So they have some special items on their menu at the stadium. The first one that I would take into probably the most consideration, at least for me, is going to be the City Connect milkshake. It is a Cookie Monster blue milkshake with a full donut and a cake pop on top of it. So, City Connect milkshake. Wes, you tried the campfire milkshake at the White Sox stadium this past season. Which one sounds better to you, the campfire milkshake, or you ready to go for the City Connect?
Campfire milkshake for sure.
Okay. How about you, Sarah? Which
Definitely.
one would you want to try more?
Do I have to? I just milkshake at a baseball game sounds like the most least desirable thing to me.
I have to tell you that it took 4 people to drink this one campfire milkshake. We'd had a couple beers and we ate there too.
Yeah,
so it took a village to drink this one milkshake.
I don't love like blue food coloring. I don't love walking around with like a blue mouth after like a blue candy or something, you know. So I've been on like a really big s'mores kick this year. I don't know what it is. Like I've discovered it for the first time. Anything s'mores I've just like gobbled up. So I would say the campfire also.
If you had to pick one. Okay. All right.
Yeah, if I had to, but my choice is neither.
That City Connect milkshake legitimately probably, I mean, I think I said something on Twitter about how it has as much sugar in it as I've had in the year 2024, but easily as much sugar as I probably have in a month, like in that one milkshake without even thinking about it, you know? They also have a dessert pizza, which looked really, the picture of it was very, very appetizing. And they serve giant turkey legs at the stadium in October, which I feel like is just like a really like, I don't know, it has postseason vibes to me. So consider those options as a vibe for the Phillies. And okay, last one. The Philadelphia Phillies have the best mascot in all of sports, the Philly Fanatic. He is very involved in the games. He is best friends with Bryce Harper. I have to mention it because I think a good mascot. The Dodgers don't have a mascot, okay? The Yankees don't have a mascot. Things to take into consideration.
They have the baseball heads. It's kind of like the Mets.
It's not a thing.
Boring.
It's not real.
That's not fun.
It's not the Fanatic or Fredbird. Like, I'm sorry. It's just not, right? We can agree.
Fredbird got a mention in there. That's
listen, unfortunately, Fredbird is not a vibe in the postseason, but the Philly Fanatic, I think you got to give it to him there. Okay, we hit them all, right? Bryce Harper in October, Phillies daycare, ring the bell, postseason menu, and the Philly Fanatic. Wes, what's your VAR score?
So you're gonna be mad at me, but I will tell you why. And that's because I ranked food as the lowest. Food was negative 1.5 for me.
Wow, okay.
Mainly because when I go to a baseball game, I go there for the beer. And it's very rare that I get food. The only times that I get food is if I haven't been able to eat before I go to the game.
Gotcha.
So the negative 1.5 on the food scale brought us down to a 6. I gave Bryce Harper 2.5 because, he's hitting 500 in the postseason. He's hit that home run on Sunday. The mascot, I'm being a little biased, I guess. I gave a 1. I just don't think that a mascot does much for me in the postseason. The bell, though, I gave the bell. I will give them that's a 2 for me. Just having something that happens after a home run is pretty exciting, and especially if it's an exciting postseason home run, that's always something that'll get the vibes up.
You're like really into history too. Is that maybe part of why the bell pulls on your heartstrings a little more?
Liberty, but we got to see the Liberty Bell this summer. It was amazing. I loved it.
Sarah, what stands out for you the most about the Phillies vibes?
Let's see. It was a tie for me between Bryce Harper in October at a 2 and the Bell at a 2. I had a total of 8.5, so I was a little bit kinder. I had no negatives. I think the food, basically what won me over is the giant turkey leg. I think walking around with a giant turkey leg anywhere you are just totally ups the vibes. Like anytime I see somebody just walking around with a giant turkey leg, I'm like, all right, how can I be mad?
It's like you're at medieval times or something.
I mean, the Alaska State Fair was what I totally, we always had the giant turkey leg. That's what it brings me back to. So I just can't be mad. I see a person walking around with a turkey leg. And I'm not the biggest. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it seems like, doesn't the turkey leg seem like it really aligns with the Phillies vibes? Like you can just see Brandon Marsh, with the turkey leg. It just seems right.
The dirty hair just eaten without a fork, just grabbing it by the,
Total caveman. Yeah. But I'm also, not the biggest Philly fanatic fan. This might be like a cold take, but I think the blooper is better than the fanatic.
Wow.
I don't think that either one of them are the best mascot, but I do think blooper is better. So.
Wow, Sarah, it's been really nice having you here, but I think we can do without your trip.
My internet's out?
Well, I gave the Philly fanatic
She's
a 3.
having connectivity issues.
I gave the Philly fanatic a 3 because I think he's just that elite. I do think he's a difference maker. I think he's as much of a difference maker as Bryce Harper, honestly, because I obviously gave Bryce Harper in October.
They're one and the same.
Well, the bell solid 2 because I do think that's a big vibes thing, and I had no negatives, but the food was really a 0 for me. I agree. I didn't realize until you said it, Wes, but I think if they had a postseason cocktail or a special draft beer or something, that vibes more, I think, especially with the fans at Citizens Bank. So maybe next year.
Yeah,
all right. So my overall score was a 9. Our combined scores 8.5 for the Phillies. So higher than the Dodgers.
There we
not
go.
As high as the Padres. Let's get in on these New York Mets because people have been really high on the vibes for the New York Mets. And we just need to lay it down here and get to business. The Mets had a lot of vibey things going on, but it is up to you to determine, how objectively how these are playing in to their postseason opportunities. The first one we got to talk about is Grimace, right? So they have this moment mid-season, June, where Grimace, the big purple, what is Grimace? He's not a real
McDonald's,
thing, right?
He's just
no one knows.
He's a McDonald's character, yeah.
Yeah, no one knows. He's purple. He's a purple blob. And he threw out the first pitch at a Mets game, and ever since then, the Mets have had the best record in baseball. So, yeah, I mean, Pete Alonso is wearing purple cleats. Harrison Bader's got the gloves and the sleeves. He's fully committed to the purple. They have a Grimace seat at Citi Field, so they're really leaning in. I mean, there's people at every game dressed up as Grimace, right? So that's a thing. What kind of vibes do you think Grimace is maybe bringing to the New York Mets? Other big storyline, very vibey for the Mets this season, is Jose Iglesias, aka Candelita, who has another postseason anthem in the running, his song OMG. Guys, have you heard this song? Have you heard the song?
I haven't heard the song.
You
I
haven't?
saw
Oh,
that it was a
no.
thing.
I haven't either.
I just haven't listened to it.
Oh man, I really should have made you listen to the song. Well, okay, you'll be able to be, I guess, a little bit more objective because you haven't heard the song, but know that it's an anthem. Know that it totally slaps. I love it so much. And know that Pitbull loved it so much that the Pitbull remix of OMG is dropping on Friday, October 11th, which is also set to be Game 5 of the NLDS. I mean, that could be really savage for the Phillies if that hits the right way. So, yeah, Jose Iglesias is a 34-year-old, kind of like up and down player, more known for his defense, never much to write home about at the plate, but he has been a huge difference maker at the plate for the Mets in the second half of the season here. I mean, he didn't even start the season, I don't think, on the Major League roster, but also he's a Latin pop star, and he has this song that he performed on the field after Pride Night at the end of a game in June. And ever since then, it's been, the rallying cry. They have the big OMG sign that they take pictures with after home runs. Everybody in the crowd's got the OMG. So, take that into consideration. It's definitely having a big effect on the vibes around the team. Another vibe that we were introduced to in the wildcard series was Pete Alonso's rally pumpkin. Pete Alonso showed off a pumpkin that he picked at a pumpkin patch in Wisconsin over the weekend, the wildcard series, that he referred to as his rally pumpkin, or his good luck pumpkin, whatever, that helped him hit that home run that ultimately kept the Mets in the postseason and took them to the NLDS. So we'll have to have some vibes for the rally pumpkin. And here is one that it definitely plays into the Mets vibes. He's just too big of a personality not to. Jesse Winker was traded at the deadline from the Nationals to the Mets. If you don't know about Jesse Winker, the things that you need to know about him into how he plays into the vibes of the New York Mets is he has multiple times given shit to other teams about celebrating, being too excited about things on the field, but then he himself, Jesse Winker, is very, very excited, very chirpy, very demonstrative in his celebrations, even at times where it's maybe not so exciting. So, not a walk-off win, just maybe like a hit, a 2-out hit, and he is losing his mind. So, have you guys seen Jesse Winker play? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I think he was on the Reds before, right? Like a long time ago.
He's been around. Been around.
Yeah. That's why I recognize him, but I really have not paid any attention to the Nationals, and I do try unbiasedly to ignore the Mets as much as possible. So I'm not familiar with this game.
The helmet slam the other night,
yeah, I did see that.
Was not a fan of at all.
Yeah.
Was that in the wild? That was still in the wild card series, right?
So yeah.
Ooh, I tweeted about that. I was not happy with that helmet slam. Calm down.
Yeah. So that's what you need to know about Jesse Winker. All right, last vibe here to review for the Mets, and that is that they have had 44 comeback wins this season. Again, take from it what you will, because comeback wins are very exciting, but a lot of pressure. I don't know. Like, how many more do they have in their back pocket? Is it good to always be playing from behind? I don't know. How do you think that may or may not play in to their success long term here in the postseason? All right, those are our vibes for the New York Mets. Grimace, OMG, Pete's Rally Pumpkin, Jesse Winker, and 44 comeback wins. Wes, do you have a VAR score for us?
I have a 10 for the Mets.
Wow.
10 for the Mets. Grimace, I mean, it's a high score. I was in New York for 2 weeks. It was right when the Mets passed the Cardinals in the wild card standing. And I remember I was, sitting at bars watching the Mets play with a bunch of Mets and Yankees fans. And I just sat there and I'm like, oh no. And it was, I literally got to New York right after the Grimace thing happened. And it's taken off. That's something that you need. It's like a rally cry. The Iglesias anthem, I gave him a 3. Like, come on. I'm just imagining Victor Scott doing this in a couple years. He's going to write an anthem for the Cardinals, and heck yeah, let's do it. The Winker, I gave him a 0. I should have given him negative. That helmet slam the other night, I'm just not into it. I'm not in, if you are going to be someone that chirps at other players for reacting, then don't be a stoic person yourself. That's what I want to see anyway. The comeback scores 2.5. That's how many more do they have in their back pocket? I don't know. I think if you're just used to winning from behind, you find ways to do it, and you figured it out this whole season. So I think they're going to continue to do that. Even if they get down to, like, if the Phillies win, it's even now, right? If the Phillies win the next game and it's a 2-1, I think they're in a perfect spot where they want to be.
Yeah.
All right. Sarah, 10. That's
right.
pretty, that's a lot to live up to. Where are you at?
Wes and I are on the same page on a lot of this. I was a 9. So I gave Grimace a 3, honestly, just because I'm terrified to say anything negative about Grimace, because I'm pretty sure he will show up in my apartment tonight if I don't hype him up.
He'll be at your door.
I did take the liberty to Google what Grimace is supposed to be. And according to, I think, people.com, somebody posted, McDonald's Corp posted from the official Twitter account that Grimace was, quote unquote, the embodiment of a milkshake, though others still insist he's a taste bud. So I don't think that answers our question as to what Grimace is.
A taste bud.
I'm even more confused, but thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
But
I am still terrified of him.
I think.
Yeah. I gave the 44 comeback wins 2.5 because 44 is my grandma's angel number, and I have a thing with numbers just like you do, Kelsey. So I had to rank that pretty high. But I agreed. The Jesse Winker was a 0 for me. I didn't realize he was so, like, anti other people celebrating, and that kind of did that for me. Like, you can't chirp at other people for doing something and then do it yourself. That's no vibe to me.
Sarah, how did you score Pete's Rally Pumpkin?
I did a 1.5. I don't know. I'm not a Pete Alonso fan. I think I've made that pretty loud and clear. So I am trying to be unbiased, and I do think anything with the name Rally in it is pretty cool. So that's why it got points at all for me. But
that's why I gave him a 2 for that too, as well. Like, if you have a symbol and you're doing well after that.
Yeah.
But I'm on the same page. I'm not a huge Alonso fan.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you guys were just a lot nicer to them than I was, which I was not expecting, because, like, I'm pretty into, like, I wanted the Mets to be the Brewers, if I'm being honest. But yeah, so Grimace a solid 2. OMG, if I could give it a 10, I would. I gave it a 3. I gave Pete's Rally Pumpkin a -5 because I think when you have something like Grimace and OMG,
negative. I didn't know -5 was an option.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Wes has yet to score anything negative.
I heard -5.
Negative.
I heard -5, not -0.5.
So I scored a -0.5 because I think Pete Alonso, as he kind of does, like, listen, I'm coming around on Pete Alonso a little bit, okay? I think he does a lot of really great charitable work. I think he's really good in that City Cash Card commercial that he does. But overall, Pete and I have had our differences, especially in vibe-related things on the field. I think he's, like, trying a little too hard with the pumpkin. When you have something like Grimace and OMG, like, these are two, like, very high vibe things that you have going for you. No, like, the gimmick, it gets gimmicky, I guess, is what I felt like with the pumpkin. So that's why I gave it a -5. Jesse Winker, full on -2. I think he kind of kills the Mets vibes. And comeback wins, I gave him a solid 1, because I do agree with you guys that I think when that's what you're used to, just having that mentality that you're never out of a game can be very powerful. But because the negatives, they only came out to a 3.5 for me. So when I factored the average of our scores, which, I mean, thank goodness that I could average this out, because otherwise they would be above the Phillies. They're at 7.5.
Yeah.
Vibes above replacement.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
So out of our National League teams, we've got the Padres up quite a bit over the other three teams. Let's get these American League teams done. So the New York Yankees are playing the Kansas City Royals here in the American League Division Series. 5 vibes to consider for the New York Yankees. Aaron Judge, he's a vibe all on his own, right? I mean, he is the highest WAR player in Major League Baseball this season with 10.8. And I mean, he's all you ever hear about. He is having historic year after historic year. He's also that like strong, stoic. He is the captain of the New York Yankees and really has that like classiness about him, the way that he carries himself and the way that he contributes to the team on and off the field. So Aaron Judge on your team, what kind of vibes is that playing in? Reminder that you can score from -2 up to 3 half points can be awarded. Juan Soto, a vibe all on his own as well. These two separate vibes, because Juan Soto is, while still a star vibe, a totally different vibe than Aaron Judge. He's got the Soto shuffle. He's got more of the bad boy thing going on for him. He's coming up on free agency. So all of those vibes around him, you know, he's playing in a little bit differently, maybe. Up to you to score that accordingly. The New York Yankees also have their closer, who is being referred to as Luke Dreamweaver. His name is Luke Weaver, but since he's closing us out, he's putting the other team to sleep. We call him Luke Dreamweaver. Have either of you seen interviews with Luke Weaver? Are you familiar with him?
Oh, very.
Not recently. He was a Cardinal.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw the one from the other day where they asked him a question with what the word inkling. He's like, I'm going to pretend like I know what that means. I'm like, that's not even a big word. That's a pretty normal word to throw around.
I guess the two big things that you should know about Luke Weaver is he is incredibly, incredibly wholesome, very, very endearing. And he inherited the closer role after Clay Holmes, like, really put the Yankees fans in a bad place. And he has come in and done a really nice job for them. So they've got a solid closer, and he has a darling personality. Let's consider also the moves that they made at the trade deadline. That was a whole vibe. The last season, the Yankees didn't do like anything at the trade deadline, but this season they did, and it's definitely a vibe because they acquired Jazz Chisholm Jr., who's a very, again, good vibe, bad vibe, anywhere in between. He's certainly a vibe. So up to you to score that accordingly. They also got a couple pieces added to their bullpen and Mark Leiter Jr. and Aniel De Los Santos to kind of bolster things there. They also have the highest active payroll. That is the fifth and final vibe that I want you to consider for the New York Yankees. Again, could play in well for them. They've got, you know, some high paid players, but how is that money being accounted for? Is there pressure that comes along with it? All kinds of things to consider in terms of how having the highest active player payroll vibes a team in the postseason.
So I want to clarify here before I make my final judgment. This is only postseason vibes, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously their performance and like the vibe they bring in the regular season is going to play in to the postseason. But okay. Yes, how you think it's going to affect them in the postseason is ultimately what we're scoring here.
So the Yankees got a 7 from me. Yeah, Judge. So the Royals are up right now, 4-1 as we speak. Judge has yet to have a hit at all this postseason. I gave him a 1 for that. So I know that he is the key. He's the key reason, you know, like he is obviously one of the best players. But he hasn't got a hit yet. So, you know, you just got to weigh that. Weaver got a 3. He's a former Cardinal. Come on. Payroll got a -1. I don't care. Like, it just, whenever I see a high payroll in a baseball team, it's like, okay, cool, you're buying a championship. And I mean, that's how the Yankees have 27? Mm-hmm. They bought all those championships back in the 20s and 30s. That's how they did it. But that's on my vibe list. It's low on the vibe list. I know it's gonna get them far, but it's low on vibes.
It's not a vibe. What do you think, Sarah?
Not a vibe.
It's not a vibe.
So this was probably my meanest ranking. They got a whole 3 points from me.
All right. Tell us about
I also gave Aaron Judge a 1. Talkin' Baseball did tweet out earlier that Aaron Judge has the worst strikeout rate in MLB postseason history. So I don't think his regular season is translating that well to the postseason right now.
He's only played 2 games though, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's be fair. But they did.
Yeah, but
I did see that. And I was like,
Yeah, in 2022, he did not play well in the postseason either. So
no,
it's fair.
Yeah. I gave the highest payroll a negative 1.5. Again, that does not impress me. I don't care how much money you have. It doesn't really translate. I gave Juan Soto a 1. I've never bought into Juan Soto. I don't know if that just makes me ignorant or just maybe I have something else that no one else can tap into, but I don't ride the Juan Soto train. And yeah, Luke Weaver, I give him 1.5 just because I think he is very endearing and he is a former Cardinal, but I don't know how far that's going to get him, closing out games if Aaron Judge and Juan Soto aren't doing very much.
Oof. All right. I was kind of, I guess, right in between you guys with a 4.5 for the Yanks. I did give Judge a 2.5 because he's Aaron Judge, and I think he is a vibe both on and off the field. And even when he is not playing well on the field, I think he is solid enough as a person and a player to still be the captain that he needs to be for his players off the field. And when a guy goes cold like that, it is only a matter of time. And when he lets it loose, it's gonna go. So we'll see if that's.
He's always going to be a threat.
Yeah. And that's the thing. From what he has done in the regular season, you still got to approach him differently, even if there's no, straight stats that are coming out of it. It's a vibe. It's an Aaron Judge vibe. I agree with you, Sarah, that Juan Soto, while I did give him a 1, because I do think he gives you a vibe above replacement, it's just one vibe above replacement. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Because, there's something about him that is not, he doesn't have that same kind of, I don't know, solid structure to him that really takes the team to the next level in terms of vibes. Luke Weaver gave him a 1 too. Very solid to have a closer and a guy with his personality. And I right in line with you guys, -1 for that highest active player payroll, because I think any team that is paying that much to have those players on the field, there's an element of strategy that they have taken out of it and saying money is going to replace that. And I just don't think it works. So our average vibes above replacement is 4.8 for the Yankees. Let's see if the Kansas City Royals
rough the Yankees
can out vibe the Yankees. Vibes that I want you to consider here for the Kansas City Royals. Their captain is Salvador Perez, who is just beloved, I think, by all baseball fans. I mean, he is a catcher. He's got a smile that could just light up any stadium. He's had a career year even after he's been playing for well over a decade. He was with the 2015 Kansas City Royals, the last time that they were in the postseason, and won the World Series. Had a big home run in tonight's game 2 against the Royals and the Yankees. So Captain Salvi is a vibe all on his own for the Royals. And separately, I want you to consider Bobby Witt Jr., who is absolutely an MVP caliber player. We've already come to terms with him not being awarded MVP this season because of Aaron Judge having yet another historic season. But in any other league or any other planet on Earth, Bobby Witt Jr. is an MVP. He is also only 23 years old, and he carries himself with a veteran presence and obviously making plays on both sides of the ball that are really contributing to the success of that team. He has a 9.4 WAR, second overall to Aaron Judge in all of baseball for the regular season. Here's a vibe we really need to consider. Let's get serious about this. Will Smith, relief pitcher, while he is not on the active roster currently for the DS, for the Kansas City Royals, I don't care. He's still going to get a World Series ring if they win the World Series. Will Smith, not that Will Smith, but the other Will Smith, the relief pitcher Will Smith, he has 3 World Series rings with 3 different teams in the past 3 years. So the writing is on the wall in a sense that the Kansas City Royals could be that fourth ring because they've got Will Smith. Want you also to consider the vibe that is the trade deadline for the Kansas City Royals. I think they were one of the teams that had the most active and ultimately successful trade deadlines. They acquired Yuli Gurriel, who's a 40-year-old who's playing first base for them, but he has tons of postseason experience, still knows how to work walks in big moments and just be kind of a veteran presence, especially on a team of a lot of younger guys. They acquired Michael Lorenzen, who of course was with the world champion Texas Rangers last season, to bolster their pitching wherever they need him. Could start, could come in long relief. And you guys, they got Tommy Pham and Paul DeJong, who we love to see playing with a little 2018 St. Louis Cardinals reunion with Michael Wacha. They also acquired Lucas Erceg, who is a great story, and the success that he has found, he's really stepped up to seemingly be their closer. So strong trade deadline there to consider for the Royals. Last vibe here. It cannot go unnoticed that the Royals last season lost 106 games. So they've really gone from zero to hero. Full Cinderella story here for the Kansas City Royals. Is that a vibe? I mean, it is a vibe, but how much is it helping them vibe to really feel like, this is it, let's run all the way with it? Have you added it up, Wes? What does it look like for you?
I'm at a 12.5 for the Royals.
Woo-wee.
Which is my highest score.
Yeah.
Salvi 2.5. He's done some work in the postseason. Bobby Witt Jr. He's at, I think, .167 right now batting average for the postseason. I'm sure he'll find his swing. Like Will Smith getting his 4th ring in a row, like that'd be sick. But I think the biggest thing that I gave them a 3. 106 losses last year to now being in the postseason. That's huge.
Yeah.
And especially for a small market team like the Royals, that's the Cinderella story that you want to see. If they can beat up the big bad Yankees, then the writing's on the wall right there. They can beat anybody if they beat the Yankees. Mm-hmm. So 12.5 for me.
All right. Sarah, how the Royals do in your book?
We got the exact same score. I think we weighted things differently, but wow. I also got 12.5. I gave a 3 to Will Smith. That's kind of what I've been just kind of harping on all postseason, is like Will Smith has to get his 4th ring. It's just, and I think that was kind of the joke. Didn't he sign with them at the beginning of the season? And that's kind of just been like the whole thought process all year, is that Will Smith's on this team. So we've, put it in the books. I do have, 106 losses last season to being in the postseason this year, also rated at 3. I think both of those things are very vibey. I think those are very just, again, the highlight reel. You can see these things on their rings. And their trade deadline, I had to give it a 2. They've got my guy, Paul DeJong. They've got Tommy Pham. Erceg's a great pickup. So yeah, I think they're riding high on the vibes right now.
Yeah, Tommy Pham and Paul DeJong are really big vibes guys. So I think it's fair that we give them some points for that. I gave Salvi, Bobby Witt, and Will Smith all 3s because the thing that I like about Salvi and Bobby Witt Jr., as opposed to let's compare them to the Aaron Judge and the Juan Soto, is they're more complete players. They're, both at premium positions, and they're just so solid, and you don't hear about them in that superstar, holier than thou kind of status. They just are showing up, kind of
they seem like they have a little more personality.
Yeah, they just play the game.
Yeah, they're just solid ball players. So yeah, they also got a very high score for me of 11.5. So for an average vibes above replacement of 12.2, y'all, that is the highest. That is gonna take them above the Padres. Here we go. Okay, 2 more teams to look into here, and both from the American League Central. So we're staying in the Midwest here. The Cleveland Guardians. 5 vibes to consider here. Jose Ramirez is their MVP level player. He had a 6.8 WAR this season. I mean, he is a perennial all-star. He was 1 home run away from having a 40 home run, 40 stolen base season, and he's one of those guys that might surprise you, because, you know, he doesn't look like a Shohei Ohtani or an Aaron Judge. I feel like he's like a whole foot taller or a whole foot shorter than them. But he's just, again, like super solid guy. Similar vibes, if you will. I guess I shouldn't influence you too much, but to me, he has similar vibes as Salvi Perez, that kind of a leader for that team. So we'll consider him and the vibes that he brings to the Guardians, as well as the brothers Naylor. How crazy is it that not only are 2 brothers in the major leagues at the same time, but they're on the same team, starting for the same team. So we've got Josh Naylor, who's really had a career year for him, really found a lot of power in his bats, and his brother Bo Naylor, who is a catcher, been a really solid leader behind the plate for that team, and his bat is picking up as well. So we've got Josh and Bo Naylor. And I mean, how fun it, we've seen brothers face off, you know, the Nolas a couple years ago, but these guys are on the same team. We love a good family moment and how that might vibe for the Guardians. We've also got to consider Stephen Vogt as a whole vibe in himself. He was playing in the major leagues as a player last season, you guys, and then he had to come in and take over
just last year.
Just last year. Yes, for the Oakland A's, Stephen Vogt. And now he suddenly just has this like wise look about him, like he's been a manager forever, and he's really taken over the legacy that Terry Francona left there with this young team, and clearly, you know, brought them to the next level because they had one of the best records in baseball and were clearly leaders in their division all season long. How much of that Stephen Vogt vibe do you think is playing in to the Guardians' success this season? The Guardians also have a vibe about them of having the longest World Series drought among, so obviously the Padres have never won a World Series, but outside of the Cubs, who, you know, broke their 108 years, the Cleveland Guardians, who lost to the Cubs in that World Series, they have the longest active drought, currently 76 years. They have not won since 1948. How much longer does it need to be for the Guardians? What kind of vibe is that giving them? What kind of edge maybe are they playing with, knowing that? Now, this is going to be a tricky one to take into consideration as the final vibe here. Might make you feel a little different than it would have if we recorded this a few hours ago, because Emmanuel Clase, their closer, while he did blow, I guess it wasn't a save opportunity, and maybe that's something to consider, he did give up a 3-run home run in today's game, but I do need you to consider that during the season, he had a .61 ERA, and 47 saves, which is second in the entire league, only to our guy Ryan Helsley. And he's just, I mean, he's next to unhittable. That ERA is insane. He also always has really fun colored dreads, hair going on. So he's a whole vibe in himself. Having that closer, that weapon at the back of the bullpen, of a very strong bullpen overall, is certainly a vibe. All right, Wes, add 'em up.
So the Guardians got 12 from me.
Whoa.
I think that just like everything that they've got, the longest drought, 2.5. And I think that these players that you're, like Ramirez, the Naylor brothers, like they're not the guys that you hear about in the media every day. So you want them to do better, right? Like they're not your Ohtani, they're not your Judge, they're not the Soto. It's these guys that don't get as much airtime that you kind of feel a little bit more hyped for, when
Mm-hmm.
they're having success. So I think that is great. And to see a manager like Vogt come in and just, do really well, it just makes you happy. So 12.
All right. High on vibes from Wes. How about you, Sarah?
I only got an 8 with the Guardians. The biggest to me was the Brothers Naylor. I love a good bro story. Love a pair of bros. They got 2.5. I had to bump down their closer. It didn't quite have as many saves as another closer, so only got 1.5 for me there. But Jose Ramirez did get a 2. I think that, like you were saying, Wes, just like he's not a player that you hear about, but he is having a great year, and I think that's.
And I think, like, in the back of my mind, I'm just these smaller market teams. I just am scoring higher on vibes because they've, they're playing. I mean, not that the other teams, the bigger market teams aren't playing ball well, but they have fewer resources to contend with. So I think that's why I'm skewing a little bit higher for, Kansas City and Cleveland here.
Well, and Cleveland came out. They had, was it the second best record, or was that the Yankees in all
Yankees
of baseball?
had the second best, then Guardians.
So they had the third, maybe.
I think they were the fourth.
I don't remember
technically, but
okay.
I mean they were
still there. They
all season long.
They got the bye. They didn't have to play in the wild card round. And I don't think I could tell you a single game that I heard about of theirs. So they obviously had a great successful season, but nobody was talking about them. I was also pretty checked out this year, but I didn't hear anything. So
yeah, no, you're right on. And Wes, I think you bring up a great point that these are the teams that have to rely a little bit more on vibes, but they surely are a very important factor, very real statistic. So I gave them a 10, which means our average score, our average vibes above replacement is going to be a solid 10, which is very solid there for the Guardians, holding strong up there with Padres just under the Royals. All right, let's talk about the Detroit Tigers to wrap this up, because I think maybe this is the team that we didn't expect that we would be talking about in the DS round. But here they are. Did you guys, the first vibe I want to talk about here is maybe my favorite one. Did y'all see the video in the clubhouse after they swept the Astros out of the wild card, where they're about to pop the champagne and AJ Hinch, their manager, finishes it up by saying, now, I don't know who, but somebody let the Tigers get hot. And then the whole clubhouse just went insane. So that's the first vibe I want you to consider for the Tigers, because that video, that moment in itself, especially after they swept the Astros out of the wildcard series, was a vibe. We also have to consider Tarek Skubal as a vibe all of his own, because he is going to be the American League Cy Young, best pitcher in the American League for the 2024 season. He pitched another absolute masterclass in Game 2 here today as we are recording. And having that solid piece at the front of your rotation, I mean, I don't know if there's another pitcher in the postseason who is as much of a lock as Tarek Skubal is at the top of that Tigers rotation. What kind of edge, what kind of vibe does that bring to the Tigers? The Tigers are also, they have the ultimate under the radar or underdog vibes, right? They're the team that wasn't even supposed to be in the postseason, let alone, sweep the Astros out of the postseason. So that is a whole vibe in itself of kind of nothing to lose, right? There's no expectation for them. And it's certainly something that is a vibe and could give them an edge when it comes down to it. A couple more vibes to consider here. A big vibe that they've got going for them too on the days Tarek Skubal is not going is called pitching chaos. They don't really have other solid starting pitchers, but their whole approach is every day is a bullpen day and you never know what you're going to get. And they've got enough guys who can do this kind of opener and long relief game that you never know what you're going to get. And it's really hard for the other team to play the matchup and the way that their bullpen is built, they've had, some recent success with this. So what kind of edge does that give them vibes wise? Final vibe to consider for the Detroit Tigers is their manager, AJ Hinch. If you have not heard of him, if you're a baseball fan, you've probably heard of him because he had great success as a manager previously with the Houston Astros. He was the manager of that 2017 Houston Astros team, and so he was suspended for a year for the sign stealing scandal. But after his suspension ended in 2020, after the 2020 season, he has now come back to manage this young Tigers team, got them into the postseason, maybe a little AJ Hinch redemption going on there. So AJ Hinch vibes. How's he vibing?
All right. So, the Tigers, I kind of thought this would be the case. They just outperformed everybody. They got a 13 from me.
Whoa.
13.
Whoa.
We know that we love a manager speech. Honestly, I did put money on the Tigers after they swept the Astros. After they swept the Astros, I put some money down on them to win it all. So we'll see what happens. So I kind of am a little biased in that sense, I guess. But we know that we love a manager speech. That's a 3 for me. So Skubal, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts.
Ugh.
Like in a playoff game, what? Like you can't get better. Like how do you do better than that? Sweeping the Astros 3, obviously. That's we all love to see that. So yeah, the Tigers got a 13, and I think that if they get hot and stay hot, anything can happen, and I think they can take it all.
What do you think, Sarah? Are the Tigers staying hot? That's the real question.
I think the Tigers are staying hot. I got 11, so we're close. Ooh. I personally am a big fan of saying, don't let the blank get hot. So having that be like their tagline just speaks to my soul. That is a vibe.
Yes.
That got a 3 for me. As Cardinals fans, I think we all can appreciate the under the radar underdogs. It's giving strong 2011 Cardinal vibes. That got a 3 for me. The 2 pitchers, I gave them each a 2, Tarek Skubal and the chaos. I love the idea of the chaos. I embraced the chaos fully last year with the Diamondbacks. So anything with chaos, count me in. And yeah, manager just got a 1. It's a good vibe to have, but it's not as strong as the others. So we got 11.
I'm with you there. I gave AJ Hinch a 1 as well. I actually gave pitching chaos a -1 because while I think it can work short term, I do think it's a disadvantage to not have that solid 5 to 7 inning guy, at least 2, if not 3 of them, especially once you get into these longer series. But 3s across the board for who let the Tigers get hot, Tarek Skubal, and the underdog vibes. Just the having nothing to lose and having these guys who just don't have that, they don't feel the pressure the same way because they've never even been there. I think that's actually a huge advantage. So they got overall an 11 from, a 9 from me for an average vibes above replacement score of 11 from all of us. So that is just below the Royals. The Royals with a solid 12.2 VAR are going to be our vibes above replacement champions. So
but let's
Will
also
Smith
with
and the vibes.
The numbers that, we like numbers. So their average was 11. And I said they gave a 2011 Cardinal vibes, which was their 11th championship. So
Sarah let the Tigers
we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
We need to come back to this episode once the postseason's over and see how we fared.
We're going to be clipping.
See if Wes is going to cash out on his bet, take us all out to dinner.
Yeah.
I put $1 on it. It's not going to be that much.
Wes is my favorite kind of sports bettor because he's like, I put 25 cents down and it could turn into $4. It's the best. But okay.
I'm down to my last.
You're down to what?
I'm down to my last 17 cents in my account, so I gotta really really be careful here.
Well, put it on the Royals, Wes, because 12.2
Yes.
vibes above replacement is blowing the rest of these teams out of the water. So we have the Tigers in a close second with 11. Then the Padres, 10.83. Going back to the Guardians with a solid 10. And then our teams was not as high here. We got the Phillies, 8.5. New York Mets, 7.5. The Dodgers with a 6.6. And the Yankees, lowest vibes above replacement, 4.8. So, you know what? I kind of thought maybe the Yankees and the Dodgers would get the lowest vibes above replacement scores, but it's because they think that it doesn't matter. And we are here to prove that it does. So, thank you so much.
And we've seen time and again the Dodgers have the Dodgers have been expected to win for years, and they only did in the 2020 season. And I'm not going to take that away from them to say that it was a shortened year. But we've seen time and again how the Dodgers just fall short. And especially when you go back to, like now I'm just playing, memory games, but in 2013 when the Cardinals beat them in 2014 as well in the NLDS, nobody thought the Cardinals were going to take this team because they had us outplayed, but it wasn't the money that took over and won. It was the key players at the right time, getting hot at the right time, and the vibes. It was the Cardinals had the vibes then when they took over in 13 and 14. Yeah.
I think I do have to retract my earlier statement about my favorite part of this time of year, and that is Choketober. The Dodgers choking every October.
There you go.
I think we knew this was coming.
We did, and we just statistically proved it. Okay, I guess now that we've gotten all the serious work out of the way, with I guess this at play, because now like the hard vibes scores, the numbers don't lie. Wes, if you had to pick just any of these teams, like who do you want to see win the World Series?
I was going to say Tigers beforehand. If the Royals do win, I wouldn't be upset either. So I'd say Detroit Tigers or the Royals.
Tigers or Royals. Sarah, how about you?
I'm right there with you. I've been riding the Royals train pretty hard just because of my boy DeYoung. Love his mom. Shout out Andrea DeYoung. But yeah, I would not be upset if the Tigers won. I would not be upset if the Guardians won. And I really don't care for any of the National League teams to win or the Yankees. So that's kind of where I'm sitting.
Yeah, let's keep it in the AL Central here.
Yeah. If I had to pick a National League team, though, it would be the Padres. I will say that, even though I have adamantly denied my fandom of them tonight. That would be my National League choice.
I do think we did the work the right way. I think the numbers don't lie in this case. I really do solidly back up these vibes above replacement scores. But, I have to say that I want the Phillies to win because I don't want someone to throw a pumpkin through my window tonight. But also, I think it's the Phillies. Is it their year? If it's not their year, it's because their vibes above replacement is not high enough and they need to come check in with us. So we're here. If they want to rely on us for the right price, we might be able to help them out. But Wesley, tell us where we can follow you on social media and keep up with you this off season and look forward to the countdown. You're always good about the countdown to spring training and to opening day.
Oh, we love the countdown. You can follow me Instagram or Twitter at WesMick88, WSMCK88. Or if you are into music at all, you can follow my musician page at We Are Validity, both on Instagram and Twitter. Stream that album, stream that song that I released last year. It'd make me happy.
And hopefully the next time the Cardinals are in the playoffs, he'll be writing the anthem.
That'll be the anthem.
Well, I already wrote a Cardinals anthem, and I just need Victor Scott to. My dream is that Adam Wainwright Nelly, Victor, Scott, and I can all get together in a studio and lay it out, because there's parts for all of us. So there's a little, the bridge has a little rap. So I'm just, Nelly, if you're listening, Adam, if you're listening, Victor, if you're listening, hit me up. I've got a really great anthem that we could lay down, and I think Cardinals Nation would really love it.
Oh, we put the call out here. I mean, the vibes would be off the charts, but yeah, that would definitely take it to the next level. Sarah, you are entertaining us on social media, whether it be with baseball or cats or, I mean, all sorts of things. You just never know what you're going to get by following Sarah. So tell us where that's at.
If you would like to make your life worse, follow me. It is at Sarah Ann 1212 1212 on all the things.
Oh, Sarah,
except TikTok, I'm not there.
I love, I don't do TikTok either. Oh, that makes me feel so much better. Sarah and I are both internally 84-year-old women. It's okay.
Yeah.
No, I love following you, Sarah, obviously, because, we experience a lot of the same emotions from baseball, but you just give lots of good recommendations and like the things that we all think about in daily life, but you're just putting it out there. Yeah. So yeah, great people to follow for great vibes and great takes on not just baseball, but everything. So thank you so much for forming this committee. We are doing Rob Manfred's work for him. And thank you so much for celebrating 100 episodes of peace, love, and baseball and being here today.
Happy 100th episode.
Yes. Congratulations, Kelsey. Thank you for having us on.
Thank you so much. And until next time, listeners, make sure that you are following along wherever you're listening. You're subscribed on your favorite podcast platform. If you're watching on the Caber Tweets YouTube channel, hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up, leave some comments, and let us know what you want to hear about next time and who got your highest vibes above replacement score. And until next week, all the peace, love, and baseball coming your way. Happy postseason. Keep enjoying it. And go Royals, I guess. Go Royals!
Yeah, go Royals.